Your name might be the reason you can't speak better English. Hear me out. My name's Timote, but nobody calls me that. If I go to America, they call me Timotej. If I go to the UK, they'll say Timote. People come from different countries, and different countries have different cultures, and different cultures have different names, and different names are sometimes a problem to pronounce in English. And so when I make a YouTube video, when I talk to people on a sales call, when I introduce myself to just about anybody, I just say, please, just call me Tim. But I know a lot of people out there that love to correct others because their name was mispronounced. So I would go to America and somebody would say, oh, so hi Timotej, and I'll go, actually it's Timotei. Timotei. I think if you're one of those people, even though you might think that you're being courteous to your parents by, keeping your name original, by ensuring that the pronunciation is correct, what you may very well be doing is you're staying in the culture of your original language. People that come from my country, from Slovenia, they speak English a little bit like this. And in this pronunciation, then it's not really a problem to say my name is Timote and I am an English pronunciation coach. The problem is that what I'm doing right now is I'm actually speaking to you in Slovenian language, but using English words. And yeah, it's easy to understand. It's not a problem for you to listen to me, but it's also not quite as nice as speaking with a British accent, which, we can all agree it's a lot nicer. But now suddenly I can't say my name anymore. Suddenly it's saying Timote now suddenly actually feels kind of odd. And saying Timothy would actually be that's actually a lot easier. Do I have to rename myself? Do I have to take on a new personality? Well, you already do. Because depending on who you're talking to, you actually are already using a different personality. 2 weeks ago, I got stopped by the police officer. And he walked up to my car and said, well, good evening, have you been drinking? And I was like, no, I've not been drinking. He's like, well, then you're not going to have a problem by doing an alcohol test. And I was like, of course not. Give me the bloody thing to blow into it. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the way that I spoke to the police officer was different than the way that I speak to my mother. It's different than the way that I speak to my cat. It's different than the way that I speak to a girl I'm on a date on. And I'm speaking differently than I do to the cashier at the supermarket. We speak to different people in different personalities, which means a lot of them are not actually based around the context of your name. I am by no means trying to tell you that you should throw away your name. I'm by no means saying that your name is meaningless and that you shouldn't correct people who mispronounce it or misenunciate it. What I am saying, however, is that your name is your identity, which is very likely rooted in the country where you were born. So for Italians, it is the Italian accent, right? And not now I'm speaking to you with Italian, but I'm actually using English words. See where I'm going with this? And the Germans, they speak a little bit like this, because that's the way that they would actually speak German. It's the same rhythms that they have, yeah? It's just using the English vocabulary. And the French, they like to speak a little bit like this, and they too have the French. It's the French language, but I'm speaking to you with the English words. Very, very exaggerated, but I think you get my point. All of us tend to be speaking from our native culture using another language. And that's where you can never breach into better English. When I speak to the camera, when I speak to the microphone, when I create content, travel abroad, I'm no longer Timote. I'm just Tim. Or I'm Timotej, or whatever the hell they call me. I have disconnected this defense bubble that we all have, and I'm not afraid of people mispronouncing my name. Obviously, my defense is by picking a different name altogether. Timote becomes... Timote. It's actually really difficult for me to say when I'm in my character. Timote is difficult to say. So you could go for Timothy, you could go for Timo, you could go for Tim. Maybe your name is very unique. Maybe for your name, you'll have to come up with a completely different version of it. But think about Chinese people, because Chinese people have very unique names. And then you talk to them and they're like, oh, my name is just John. It's like, what do you mean your name is John? I've seen your passport. It's like, something, ching jong jing, yeah. Excuse my, that was actually a little bit racist. The reason they do that is to have an easier time communicating abroad. And I think you should be doing the same thing. If you don't yet have an English name, you will never be able to get into the English mindset. And I've noticed this is such a big problem for people, particularly from Balkan countries, from majority of European countries, that have names that cannot easily be anglified. If your name is Anna in Slovenia, for example, then the English version would just be Anna. I mean, it's literally just pronounced slightly differently, but it's still the same word. Some people have very unique names. Some people have such unique names that trying to pronounce them in English becomes, it's a tongue twister in on itself. Is your name one of those that causes people to have a difficult time saying it? And as a result of it, do you have to always correct them? Now, if you do this in your native country, then, well, there might be different problems altogether. But if you have this issue when people speak to you from an English-speaking country, then chances are that you're one of the billions of people around the world who suffer from the same problem. And you would save yourself by not using your real, actual, authentic name pronunciation. I haven't used mine in over a decade, and it helps me because it makes it easier for the person I'm speaking to, and it also makes it easier for me to get into the mindset and the cultural shift that is required, so that I can go from speaking English like this, because I'm actually thinking and speaking in the Slovenian accent, and actually go and speak with a lush British accent. Or if I'd like to, I can go for the American accent if I'm traveling there and I want to have a little bit more of a appeal for the people over the pond. I know for some of you this sounds like mumbo jumbo, and to many of you it's going to be like, why is he telling me to completely put aside my name? My parents had given it to me. It's a beautiful name. It has meaning. It has a particular name in ancient Latin or Greek or Roman or whatever it might be. No one really cares. What people care is who you are. And I don't know why, but so many of us have been conditioned to believe that our name somehow defines us. If I travel abroad and nobody knows me, why don't I just introduce myself as John or Michael or, whatever else, Chris? It's not like they actually know who I am. Up until the point that you show them your ID, your passport, or if they know you from your online persona, until you share your Instagram page or whatever, no one really knows or cares who you are. If I tell you that my name is Michael Jeffrey and I've come from Oxford, there's going to be people that would believe me because it's the conviction behind it rather than the name. Names are meaningless. It's the actions behind the names that actually gave those names purpose in the first place. The only reason that you remember all the famous singers, all the famous painters, all the famous politicians is because what they did, not because of the name that they had. The only exception really are people with very funny names and surnames, which do exist. So think about it. Think about whether or not your name may or may not actually be holding you back from speaking better English. Because when you do speak English, chances are that you're doing it from your name's pronunciation. Because when I speak like this, saying Timothée is not a problem. But when I speak with a British accent, suddenly saying Timothée is actually, it doesn't fit to the mannerisms that culture of that accent requires.